Hi everyone, it's Sunday, April 11th, time for another HideNet Week in Review. I'm Vera Dordick. Starting with the U.S., prices were up again this week, but it was by a much more modest percentage than in recent weeks. Still, steers managed to tack on another dollar or two, and that's despite the fact that buyers weren't too keen on paying more. Heavy Texas steers are still in tight supply, as are a number of other selections. Seasonal weights of Texas at 64.66 pounds sold as high as $45 last week. In the cow market, while there still was interest, it was dramatically lower than it has been in recent weeks. Some of that's because of the drop in upholstery demand that's coming because the areas of China where the upholstery tanners are located are having problems with water and with pollution controls. Looking at exports, last week's report showed that sales were lower once again, but that was generally the expectation. Combined sales were just 464,000, and that's down 20% from the previous week. And sadly, shipments were also lower, down by 15%. And speaking of shipments, it turns out that the outlook for the U.S. surge in imports is that it's going to continue through the summer, so no major improvements seem likely right now. Taking a look at slaughter for the week through Saturday, April 10th, the total was back up after a dip around the Easter holiday, and this week it was an estimated 641,000. Turning to Europe, editor Andrea Guolo says that it was a week of wait and see in Europe. Actually, he says that a new wave of price increases is expected, but last week things were pretty stable across the board, with the exception of some spotty selections like Northern German cows. In the UK, Andrea says there was little news during the week. Prices are expected to rise again in the near future, but the UK 36 Plus is still being offered at £1.30 per kilo, but the average sales are mainly at £1.25 per kilo, but a few have hit the higher price. In Ireland, the range is from €1.15 to maximum values of €1.30 for the larger sizes. Among European bulls, there was little to no business, and that's because sellers are asking for more and buyers are simply refusing. Consequently, the previous week's prices were confirmed, and Southern German bulls are at €1.75 per kilo. In the European cow market, sellers actually got a few little increases last week, with Northern German selections adding 5 cents. Meanwhile, in the veal skin market, things remain stable, and that's despite the fact that sellers are pushing for more, but it's just not coming to fruition yet. In his analysis this week, Andrea looks at the very complicated negotiations that tanneries are currently having with their manufacturers and what's happening with retail and orders. Last but not least, turning to South America, editor Ronald Guiel says that fresh hides are still climbing in price. This week, they are at $3.14 per kilo. Amazingly, the pressure is unrelenting for more increases, but the problem is that it's already impossible for the leather sector to pass those increases on to customers, so it's really an untenable situation. TR1 consequently also jumped this week, increasing by 5 cents to $1.15 per square foot. In other news from Brazil, stories include Frigol ending operations at the Cachoeira Alta plant, Egypt deauthorizing more than 40 Brazilian halal exporters, and the footwear industry planning digital rounds with Russian buyers in June. From elsewhere in Latin America, the Argentine footwear industry has denounced the leather shortage that's coming because of the export situation. Manufacturing has rebounded slightly in Chile. Colombia's footwear and leather goods fair is to be held in person in June, and the CICEG in Mexico has re-elected its president for another year. So that's all we have for today, and until next week, good night from HideNet.